So I was inside and getting all my seeds and stuff out and dreaming about the garden. But our garden's gonna be different this year. So when I was inside, I was trying to lay it all out. I was trying to like picture it in my head, and you know, I can do so much in my head, but I like to actually get out in the space and kind of get a hands-on and, you know, actually really eyeball where everything's gonna go. So I brought some paper out and I thought I would just sit in the garden and see if I can get like a vision of what the 2022 garden is gonna look like. I know the plants that I wanna grow. I already have some of the seeds for what I wanna grow. I've got more seeds coming. So even though I make this plan, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna stick to the plan. I kind of just wanna get a vision down on paper so that I can kind of go from there. So that's what I'm gonna be doing today, is kind of trying to come up with a vision of what I want to do, some things that I know that I need to change, make sure I get that on paper, and we'll go from there. So what I'm doing is I'm pretty much just drawing out the things that I know aren't going to move. So I'm not an artist, don't judge me, but like the trees, I know the trees aren't going to be moving, so I can leave them there. These are the raised beds. I know they're not going to be moving. This is pretty much where the garden gate is, and where I know that there's going to be fencing. So I went ahead and drew that in because I know that's not changing. Right here in front of these raised beds, it's almost like, I don't want to say a valley or a ditch, but it is definitely a lot lower there. And we tried a few different things and it just didn't work. So I know that area's got to change. I think I'm going to go ahead and add a couple more raised beds right in front of it. But if you've seen our garden from last year, the raised beds that we had in from last year, they're pretty tall. I think I'm gonna make the ones in front of it a little bit shorter, probably about half the height, because it took quite a bit to get those filled up. And yeah, so I think I'm gonna do shorter. Plus it would just kind of look pretty. It almost looked like a step from here and then up to the high one. So I kind of like the idea. I just think it kind of looked nice, and it would serve a purpose because we're not going to be able to grow anything there in the ground anyways, just because like even right now it is saturated. So that is an addition that I definitely want to try to put in. We're leaving the windmills. That's a windmill, by the way. So I know that we're doing. Okay, I know I'm going to be going a lot of tomatoes because last year's tomato harvest I was not happy with. Sorry, our neighbors are doing some cleanup work over there. I swear the man is a workaholic. No joke. He's always out there doing something. I really need his energy because I would probably be doing something instead of sitting here planning. But it is what it is, and I am who I am. What was I saying? Okay, sorry. Anyway, tomatoes. I know I'm going to be growing a lot of different kind of tomatoes. Last year's tomato harvest I was not happy with. That is not going to happen again. I have made sure I already have my seeds of all the tomatoes that I want. I might do another video on that because that was an issue for me last year. So remind me to do a video on that. All right. And another thing I know that I didn't like is we had 4 hugelkultur beds, and I put them in between the trees. So like right now, there's a hugelkultur bed there, one there, there's one here and one here. These ones back here were fine. These ones here I did not like because when I was trying to get from this side of the garden, like the vegetable garden part, to the orchard side, I always had to step over it. And when the plants were in it, sometimes it was harder to step over. So these two hugelkultur beds, I know for sure I'm tearing those out because they just didn't work in my garden. And that's the great thing about gardening, is if something doesn't work, you just change it. Well, this year I've got to change things up because last year I think I only had like 20 tomatoes. And this year I'm going to be having a lot more and better varieties. So I'm going to have to make more room for tomatoes in this year's garden, or this coming year's garden. So I got to see what that looks like. I think I'm going to grow them a little bit different. I think I'm going to put them on a trellis instead of, I do like tomato cages, I really do. But I just don't think it's going to work for me this year. So I think I'm going to change that, and I'm going to put them on, going to do a trellis kind of thing instead of the cages. I'm thinking that I could go ahead and I could run tomatoes instead of just normally, like last year, I just ran tomatoes here, here, and here. This year, I'm thinking I could probably run tomatoes all the way down and go into the orchard to where the hugelkultur beds are. So I'm thinking I know I can get 2, might be able to squeeze 3 rows. Last year I had the zucchini laying here. I think that is where, I think I'm gonna put pepper beds on each side. Because peppers, I love the look of a pepper plant. Especially some of the peppers that once they get growing really good and that color starts popping, that would just be really pretty to walk into. Last year I overdid it on the zucchini, like way overdid it, but I could leave an area right there on each side of the peppers before it gets to the tomatoes, and maybe that's where I could do like a squash possibly. So I think I'm gonna do pole beans on the sides, like on the tomatoes are going on the sides, and so I think I'll just do the pole beans all along the fence. I know I did enough cucumbers to get us through this year, but I don't think I did. I don't think I got enough to get us through this year and next year, so I probably do need to do cucumbers. But I didn't care for them growing up on the windmills, so I think I'm gonna have to change that.
All right, in this garden space that Angie has gifted me, I'm gonna take, and
Hey, that's a pretty big gift.
it is a big gift, it really is. Obviously I still gotta move the big house fence post from last year and all that. I haven't done that yet, but when it dries up, I'm going to till this whole thing, smooth it back out, and then
Don't till too close to my trees.
Oh no. And then I'm gonna tarp the whole thing. But I believe on that end down there, I am gonna put corn back down there again. Got some of the giant corn. And then our regular sweet corn that we put out, I'm gonna put it down there. And then I think it's gonna be pumpkins and watermelons from here over. But that's subject to change.
And if I need to steal some of your...
And obviously, I probably should leave an extra 30 feet or so because I know Angie will steal it.
I might not. I have a pretty big area of...
Anybody out there want to bet on that she doesn't steal part of this area that is not already ear tagged, or if it is ear tagged, she'll pull the stake and move it over somewhere else. But yeah, that's what I plan on doing with this side.
So those are the plans for 2022. I've got my plans all nice down in paper.
I got all my plans right here.
Oh, that's terrifying. Anyway, this is Kenny and Angie here at Abundant Acres, and we'll see you soon in the garden.